Okay, ready.
You ready? Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so what does being vulnerable mean to you?
Vulnerability means just being open, just walking around with an open heart, and just seeing and being open to the world and what's to come. So, understanding, hey George, just understanding that life is unpredictable and that you can choose to live life without an ego, and yeah, just really being open and true to yourself. I think that's what vulnerability means. I think a lot of people kind of see it as, for lack of a better term, being a little bitch. But at the end of the day, it's like it's harder for you to open up to someone rather than closing yourself off. So, kind of walking around with that open heart is what it means to me to be vulnerable, to be yourself. I think with just sexes overall, or I shouldn't say sexes, the proper term would be genders. Just with genders, there's a lot of gender roles that are associated to your biological components. So because I guess I have a dick, I'm supposed to be able to provide for, a family from a monetary aspect. So whereas, if you're a woman, you're seen as a caregiver and someone who's really supposed to take things and bring life to this world when, any woman can do whatever the fuck they want. The rest of this shit is just BS that we like to associate ourselves with. But in reality, we don't even try to find ourselves. So I kind of forgot what the question was because I went on a bit of a tangent. but essentially, it's like, I think it's more gender roles than anything else that are associated to this. So I think it's a question of deciding for yourself if you want to associate yourself with those roles or if you want to live the life that you want to live. I've definitely felt a lot of shame just like being a man, just because my value from a societal standpoint is based on what I have and not so much what I can bring. So put aside the emotions, the conversations you can have with a man. You really look at him like, okay, what is he wearing? Can he afford this? Can he do that? Where does he work? When in reality, it's like you shouldn't really look at those things until you really get to know someone, and then you could be like for example, let's say relationship-wise, so it could be dating, friends, anything in between. Me as a man, I'd want someone to try to get to know me for who I am, not so much, oh, does Andy have a house? Does he have a car? Does he have a good job? Does he have a good... And that should be after the fact, just focusing on getting to know someone as opposed to what they have, because at the end of the day, it's all materials. Like, it's gonna be gone whether you want it or not. A natural disaster could happen tomorrow and then you fucking lose your house. Mm-hmm. And if all your value and everything that you stand for is within that complex, being that house, then the moment you lose it, you lose yourself. And what are you going to do after that? And that almost kind of comes back to being vulnerable. If you can be vulnerable and be open, you'll understand that life is not about these things. And so you can just live the life you want. It's really all it is.
I've definitely gone through a lot of personal growth in the last few months. I think I've always been open just because, I don't know, I never saw myself let me reframe. I never had this picture of who I was and just kind of ran along with it. I've always been open to experiences and friendships and just about anything. So, I mean, I just kind of look at what the world has to offer to me and then I run with that. I've been trying to kind of diminish the ego but at the end of the day, we all have it. It's a part of life.
Mm-hmm.
To provide a bit of context, like when I did, buy my condo, and yes, I have a car, and yes, I work for the government. So, like a lot of people who unfortunately are in a lower class are looking at me and seeing me as like kind of the end goal, or the short-term goal, depending on whatever their life is. But as someone who's reached that, like, it doesn't mean shit. It really doesn't mean shit. The car, the house, who gives a fuck? Like, what really matters, hey George, okay. What really matters is, like, at least to me, is the relationships you have with people, and just being able to build a deeper connection in a time where we're so fucking connected, means everything.
I think fitting in is just putting on a mask and just saying, okay, I'm going to act a certain type of way due to the environment that I'm in. So that could be a good and a bad thing. For instance, let's say you go to work and everyone at work loves to talk about drama and like the Kardashians, I guess. I don't have drama in my life, so I have no fucking idea like what people talk about. But let's say you go to work and you put on that mask because you think, okay, well, everyone's talking about drama, so if I come in and I want to talk about the universe and my hobby, which would be like poetry, people might look at me in a different type of way. So I decide to put on this mask that says, oh, you know what, I'm this guy who comes in and I watch the Kardashians and I love the drama and all that shit. Oh my god, I'm fitting in. Whereas belonging is being true to yourself and just understanding that, like, for example, I'm someone who loves poetry, and if you don't fuck with it, you don't fuck with it, and that's all there is to it. But it doesn't matter what environment I'm in, I'm gonna belong because I'm good with myself. So I think that's kind of the difference between the two. Belonging is being true to yourself and understanding that you can be in any environment being yourself, whereas fitting in is putting on that mask just for the masses. Here's the way I see it. And this is maybe kind of like going off context, but at the end of the day, it's like you can't help others until you know who you are. You can't. I mean, you can, but again, that's the difference between belonging and fitting in. So you pick and choose, really. At the end of the day, if you want to go through life pretending to be something that you're not, I personally don't believe you can be happy that way, just because I don't do it. But some people would argue that, by just fitting in, you can be happy because it's so much easier to just fit in than it is to belong. Mm-hmm. So it's just a question of which path you want to take. Do I want to go this way and just like, be the sheep in the herd, or do I want to be the wolf that, creates his own pack?
There's like a study on on people who feel joy, and basically the common denominator between people who feel like very good with themselves and have joy in their lives and mm-hmm. are able to be vulnerable is that they have a lot of gratitude for things. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like that's something that you practice, or that like
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, I was up at 5 today. Well, I'm always up super early, but but I was just like driving around like Ottawa, and I should have took a picture because like it was really dark, and I'm just driving down, I think on Leitrim, and there was just one spot in the sky that was orange, whereas everything else was kind of like the night, let's say around 6 p.m. because fucking Ottawa. But there was this orange light that was kind of weighing down on the darkness, and it almost looked like something was coming down. So kind of picture like a orange gradient color that's like going from bright to lighter to kind of like the dark night. And like I've never seen that before.
Like, and I was just driving around like, well, I guess it was kind of 6 around that time, but it was just fucking beautiful. And, you know, I just kept driving and obviously eyes on the road. But I was looking at it and like, I don't know, it's something I've never seen before. And I just kind of took a deep breath and enjoyed that for myself. And it maybe lasted, you know, a couple seconds, but like that, I think it's what, 10 right now. So I've been up for 5 hours. But that moment set me up for the day, and like, I'm having a great day. Like, and I'm not saying you have to rely on external things to have that little happiness, but I think it's important for all of us to kind of take a moment to just like be grateful for what we have. And if you're grateful, you're gonna notice that you're gonna be so much happier. Because at the end of the day, like, let's say I have 10 grand, right? Okay, just for easy math. And you want to buy a car that's 10 grand, right? So you go out, you buy the car of your dreams for that amount, and now you're at 0, right? You could look at it as like, oh my God, I just got a car and now I don't have money. Or you could look at it as like, oh, I got a car and now I can travel all around the world, or I can travel all around Canada. So I think perspective is extremely important, and having a perspective where you're just grateful of what you have versus, you know, pitying. Nah, that's not the right word. Not pitying. Versus being ungrateful, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, one's positive, one's negative. So are you going to have more positive energy in your life, or are you going to decide to have more negative energy in your life? That's your decision to make. You can watch the news all day about the coronavirus and all this shit, and you can be sad about it and think the world is coming to an end. But like, what good does that do to you? Like, seriously, stresses you out. Well, just right there, that's enough. Like, fuck, if I'm stressed out about it, like, no, it's not good. Or you could look at it as like, okay, this is serious. This is the pandemic that's going on. But I'm going to do my best to try to be safe, and help the people that I can help around me. And, you know, if I die tomorrow, I die tomorrow. I could honestly say that if I died the next day, I would be happy. Like, I lived a great life. I don't know. I think most people can't really say that. So I'm 25. Imagine myself, like I feel this way already. Like, my heart is fucking warm. It's filled with joy, and I just want to spread that love to people. So, I mean, that's just the way I see it. But you could look at it the other way, where it's like, you know, I'm always negative all the time, and oh my God, the world is coming to an end, and all the news, and oh, I don't have any money, and all this shit. So you're like being negative all the time, but that's not helping you or the people around you. So pick and choose. Live your life, you know, however you want to live it. I'm just deciding to be this way. So let me redirect it for a second.
Yeah.
What do you think is easier, getting mad and punching someone in the face, or telling someone you love them? I think personally it's a lot easier to just knock someone out than to tell someone you love them, right? So how the fuck could love be weaker than you physically punching someone?
Yeah, so
It's just like, I don't know. It's just, I think it's BS. I think it's people trying to put on that mask again and just being like, yo, I'm all tough and shit. Like, bro, like, I work out too. I can fucking act tough. Don't get me wrong. But like, that's every guy out there. So stop being a bitch and just open up.
yeah. So like, if you think that putting yourself out there, being vulnerable, it's actually quite hard for people to do. So
yeah.
If you're measuring bravery by like what is the hardest thing to do, then it would make sense that being vulnerable would be something that's brave.
Yeah, I think so.
What do you think comes first? Trust or vulnerability? Can you trust without having vulnerability? Or vice versa?
Well, that's a good question. Maybe. I think it's possible, but I don't think you're fully trusting someone unless you're being vulnerable.
Okay, there's no.
Because, like, at the end of the day, how can you fully trust someone if you don't know exactly who they are and what they've been through? Or if you don't even know that about yourself. You know? No. Like, I'm just gonna go into the interaction and trust you. And if you fuck me over, then fuck you. You know? That's it. That's it. So I'm just gonna walk around trusting everybody, and yeah, it's gonna hurt, and it's gonna put me in situations that I don't necessarily want to be in, but being in those situations and being uncomfortable is gonna help with my own self-growth. So I only see it as a win-win situation. Yeah, so I just go in, I trust, I'm just gonna be open with you, and then if you fuck with me, you fuck with me. If you don't, you don't.
So you don't regret being
No
vulnerable
regrets.
or trusting people ever, do you?
No regrets ever. No. What's the point? What the hell does that do for you? Like, nothing.
Cool. What's
Yeah.
something you would be intrigued of knowing about something relating to vulnerability if you were doing this? Like if you were the one asking questions, what would you ask?
Good question. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know what I would ask. Because, like, I can only speak for myself, right? At the end of the day, everything that I'm saying is just my own opinion. Like, I'm not a psychologist or anything of the kind. I just watch a lot of Joe Rogan and read self-help books. So, you know, obviously I'm an expert. But, no, I'm kidding. I don't know even what I would ask. I think I would be more interested in understanding why people don't want to be open and vulnerable, because I just don't see a life where I'm not. So it'd be more understanding like people's perspective on it. But as to understanding what vulnerability is, I know what it means to me, so the rest doesn't really matter. So for anyone who's like, oh yeah, being vulnerable is easy, or like fuck that, because who wants to be that? Grow the fuck up. Like, you're not a kid. Express yourself, communicate, trust. It's not difficult. I've been through some shit in my life. We all have. But you can decide to be the change now, or you can keep living in the past. It's your choice to make at the end of the day.